Hello, this is Gerald Tuan van Was. In this video I will continue to compare Chinese characters with English or German words even, or Dutch words if they are there, that are comparable in sound to some of the Chinese words. Why do I do that? Because my study is based upon the foundation of the words in sound. And of course it's very interesting to compare it with a completely different language, with a completely different foundation, while it's also using these sounds, and they should be directing towards the same directions because sounds have a meaning, they are an orientation, and they are described in these books as being or as having foundations in time and space that are very specific, and the combinations of these specifications can lead you to understand the directions that are meant to pinpoint your mind into a certain direction, or to describe what you're experiencing in a similar way as intended. And how and why this works, that's another chapter, that's not for now, but it is useful also for these kinds of comparisons. And I have some words that sound somewhat the same, and they have different meanings, but you will notice from the sounds orientations that are described that there is a similarity between them in that foundation that they have also in sound, even though it can be that the usage of words can lead to some completely different thing. The foundations can be the same, and they have a certain direction that is interesting to notice and to understand, and it helps you also sometimes to understand what sounds fit to what kind of word and what is the direction in them to use these sounds. And I have some comparable sounding words like zhōng, zhōng, and zhong. Zunge, that's a German word for tongue, and we have the English or Dutch word, if you like, of tongue as well to compare it. Now you will notice in a moment why such different meanings are still related, even though it's not immediately clear how a tong can be the same as zhōng in a different context, but I will show you in a moment. Here you have zhōng, which if I open up a library book, or a book where it explains what it means, I have here a couple of meanings: within, among, in the middle, center, while doing something, or during in a dialect sense, or right, or it's even used for, let's say, the middle country or China. And there are some verbs there as well which can be used like something that falls into and so on. Let's first analyze it, and then you will be able to compare all these words, how they have a similar and same foundation. It's actually quite one of these words which is quite easy to recognize as in the middle. So yeah, I have a field, a working field, and it's in the middle there. And what kind of sounds are used there? You have the ng sound, which is used quite often in the Chinese script. And the ng is one of these things that first seems to be a bit vague, because it connects two different worlds to each other. It's a bit like I describe it here. It's the square and the circle, and there's a connection that leads to it, that you have an orientation in the square and an orientation in the circle, and the one derives from the other. When one area derives from the other, it's like it's coming out of that area. You can already use this sound. And it's, you have it in the yin and yang, of course. And I described that before. So the sound is there where one thing leads to another. When the light shines, it leads to the shadow. That's what the shadows will bring. That's where you can use the if I'm not mistaken, it's at that point, because I always found it quite confusing that the sound is used in either in one of both situations and not in the other one. The other one is going inwardly with the n only, and the n is making the connection that it has an influence. The only part in the yin and yang that has an influence on the other is the light onto the shadow. The shadow has no influence on the light. The z sound, as it is associated here, is always, as I described before, going towards inner conditions. And it also moves itself towards conditions that are different inside, and it will adapt. So there are already two letters that show you that you go somewhere inwardly and go to a different space or different direction, where one bigger thing leads to a smaller thing. And the tz is, of course, going from one particular place to somewhere innerly. And that's how you can easily derive already the word Zunge from it. It also comes forward from the middle. It also comes forward from one space to the other, from one part of the body to another. It's actually already going somewhere else. It is no longer the same thing. It's part of it, but it will lead to something else. That's what the Zunge will do. It makes a connection to a different world via speech, via taste, via eating, all these kind of things. They direct itself to that different world. With tong, it is connected to a different environment. Even it combines a different communicative field with the A, where it makes connections, and that makes it with the O suitable as well. Now we had already the middle, of course, but if we focus even more to what you can do on that field, on that field in the middle, it's also a working field. What can you do in the middle of a field? You can plant something, and you focus more specifically to zhōng. So here I will specifically more go to zhōng. When I add also a dependency, I have zhōng. And what will I make dependent on the field? In the middle, I will make this planting, this available and dependent. You see, this is you have this. This activity of a plant that can be cultivated there. So you have this. That's the activity on top, and the plant underneath. You can see there as well. It's used for putting there into the middle, into our field, into the opening of something new. I will cultivate something, and that's what I use it for, to plant something, to grow something, or to cultivate something, and so on. With more emphasis simply on the middle itself, as I was already too quickly to say that, it's zhōng, zhōng. Focusing even more on that middle, here it is in this character. You can almost see that I add even more there, even more to the field. I add even more layers. One thing will lead to another, and of course this will make an association with something like, yeah, it makes it also more serious. You add more importance to it. You add more attention to it so that it becomes almost heavy, loaded with it. You're loading it. You see, you're loading it, and as you can see there, with the same sound. It's still that same sound. You focus on it. I want to change something. I go from one direction to another in an environment that is a communicative environment, and I add there something extra. It makes it more heavy. And it's adding one thing on top of another is very quickly associated with, of course, more. And there's a different symbol for it to even add it. You have this doubling. This you can see here as almost like two people running taken together. You create a doubling, a numerous, something numerous, a multitude, a plus. And if you associate with people itself, it will of course can be associated with crowds. And it's always interesting to combine any character with a starting point. So you have a starting point and then add the extra character. What will we have if we have the emphasis on zhōng from a starting point that you have there, the starting point of where I have a real foundation first, and then go towards it. What I will have a first starting point anywhere, and then go to the middle. You're already, let's say you're already in 1/3 of its action, and focuses on the middle. That's more or less the balance that I sense here. Maybe it's a better way to describe it, but it has the association of being in the second month of a season of also 4 months, mostly, more or less. It is going towards the middle, but it is already, yeah, it's like it's just a step further. I can't 100% have a perfect description with this symbol, but at least I'm closer to it of understanding, and I can make something from it that can lead to an understanding and that I can remember it. And that's already okay. That is already helpful, I hope, for doing this with these words. I hope it brought you anyhow closer to remember it easily, what you have in this symbol, which was already quite easy from the beginning. You see that it's in the middle, but also combined with the sounds themselves and so on. And with these associations, I hope they brought you closer to zhōng.